Good morning, class. This is your teacher, Miss Judy N.C. Tapatsil. How are you today? Welcome to Mapeh subject, third quarter, week 1. Our most essential learning competency for this morning is narrates the life of selected contemporary Filipino composers. The lesson that we are going to discuss this morning is about contemporary Philippine music, traditional, new music, and song composers. According to national artist Ramon Santos, contemporary music in the Philippines refers to composition that have adapted ideas and elements from 20th century art music in the West, as well as the latest trends and musical styles in the entertainment industry. The modern Filipino repertoire consists of musical pieces that have been written in 20th century, idioms that have evolved out of such stylistic movements as Impressionism, Expressionism, Neoclassicism, as well as avant-garde and new music. New music or compositions which are improvisational works such as the early compositions of Dr. Ramon Santos, the Radiacion and Cuadracion, Josefino Chino or Toledo's Samutsari, Tintigan and Terminal Lamentations, and Jonathan Baez, Wala and Banwa. With the European and American influences brought by our country's colonizers, it was inevitable that the musical style of 20th century Western composers found their way into Philippine compositions. So the works of many notable Filipino composers are evidence of this. An entire group of 20th Filipino song composers became popular for their musical compositions used as background music or theme songs in movies and films. Now let's proceed to the traditional composers. Filipino composers of the 20th century contributed their share in introducing innovative sounds, with Spain and then America having colonized the Philippines from the early 1500s to the late 1800s. It was unavoidable that Western compositional techniques found their way into the works of Filipino composers. Yet, even 20th century Filipino composers have managed to retain some traditional elements in their assimilation of Western techniques. In fact, they have become the strongest foundations of what we know now as Philippine music. Among the major Philippine contemporary composers are Francisco Buencamino Sr., Francisco Santiago, Niconer Avilardo, Antonio Molina, Hilarion Rubio, Colonel Antonino Buenaventura, Rodolfo Cornejo, Lucio San Pedro, Rosendo Santos Jr., and Alfredo Buenaventura and Ryan Cayabyab. So those are the major Philippine contemporary composers in the Philippines. Let's talk about Niconer Avilardo in 1893 to 1934. Niconer Avilardo is one of the triumvirate of Filipino composers, which includes Antonio Molina and Francisco Santiago. He studied music at the Chicago Music College and was influenced by the musical styles of Schoenberg, Hindemith, and Stravinsky. So So Abelardo developed a style that combined European Romanticism with Chromaticism. His compositions contain hazy tones, dissonance, and unusual chordal combinations. Although a 20th century modern composers in style, he is also considered as composers in the Romantic style. His best-known compositions include the Mutya ng Pasig, Nasaan Ka Irog, Cavatina for Violoncello, and Magbalik Ka Hirang. As a composition major at the University of the Philippines, he also composed the melody for the university's Auxil Anthem in UP Naming Mahal. The main theater of the Cultural Center of the Philippines, or the Tanghalang Niconer Avilardo, and the building housing the College of Music and UP Diliman are named in his honor. He died on March 21, 1934. Next, we have the Cipriano Ryan Cayabyab in 1954 to present. So, Ryan Cayabyab is a popular contemporary composer, also has classical compositions to his credit, such as Misa, four poems for soprano and piano, and the Te Deum. Among his numerous compositions are the award-winning Kay Ganda ng Ating Musika in 1978, as well as the modern Zarzuela Alikabok in 2003, the opera Spolarium with libretto by Fides Cuyugan Asensio, and a variety of choral pieces and song cycles. Cayabyab was born on May 4, 1954 in Manila. He obtained his Bachelor of Music degree at the Center of the Philippines College of Music, after which he became a faculty member of composition at the same university. He also served as the executive and artistic director of the San Miguel Foundation for the Performing Arts, which oversaw the operation and programming of the San Miguel Philharmonic Orchestra and the San Miguel Master Choral. Present, he continues to be a such sought-after professor, musical director, composer, arranger, and conductor in the Philippine concert and recording scenes. He is a contemporary music composer and conductor who spanned both popular and classical worlds with his pop music, ballads, operas, zarzuelas, orchestrals, arrangement, masses, psalms, and choral compositions. Now we have Francisco Santiago in 1889 to 1947. So, Francisco Santiago is known as the father of the Condiman and belongs to the triumvirate of Filipino composers. So, he finished his music specialization at the American Conservatory of Music in Chicago, where he obtained his doctorate degree in 1924. So remember, Francisco Santiago is known as the father of the Condiman. So Santiago's music was romantic in styles, incorporating Western forms and techniques with folk materials. So he composed several works such as Condiman, symphonies, piano concertos, and other music pieces for the piano, violin, and voice. Among his famous works are Pakiusap, Madaling Araw, Sakaling Man, Hibik ng Pilipinas, Ano Kaya ang Kapalaran, and Kundiman or Anak Dalita. This piece was sung before the royal court of Spain upon the request of King Alfonso II. He was also a musical director for films. So, among the films whose music he supervised are Kundiman, Laron-Laron Sinta, Madaling Araw, Manilenia, and the movie inspired by his own composition, Pakiusap. Next, we have the new music composers. So, composers of experimental new music in the Philippines include Jose Maceda, Lucrecia Casilag, Ramon Santos, Manuel Maramba, Jerry Dadap, Francisco Feliciano, Josefino Chino Toledo, and Jonas Baez. So they retain the Filipino spirit by incorporating traditional music forms as well as indigenous rhythms and instruments in their compositions. First, we will tackle about Lucrecia Casilag. So, Lucrecia Casilag in 1918 to 2008. So, she is a national artist for music. So, Lucrecia R. Casilag was born in San Fernando, La Union on August 31, 1918. She went to Manila to pursue a degree in music at the Philippine Women's University. She then obtained her master's degree from the Eastman School of Music in New York, USA. Her compositions were influenced by her professors Irving McCose and Wayne Barlow. Casilag's compositions demonstrated a fusion of Eastern and Western styles in using instruments, melody, harmony, and rhythm. So she is particularly known for incorporating indigenous Filipino instruments into orchestral production. Among Casilag's many compositions are Toccata for Percussion and Winds in 1959, composed for indigenous Muslim instruments and Western instruments; The Legend of the Sarimanok in 1963, composed for chamber orchestra and Philippine ethnic instruments; Divertissements and Concertante in 1960, compositions for piano and orchestra combining Western and Eastern forms, harmonies, and intervals; and the Dularawan in 1969. So, a musical drama combining a dance solo with a chorus and an ethnic orchestra. So, her other works include compositions for piano, instrumental ensemble, and chorus. She was equally admired in the academe as a former dean of the College of Music and Fine Arts and Philippine Women's University. So, in the cultural field, she was the president of the Cultural Center of the Philippines. In the dance circle, she was the president and music director of the Bayanihan Dance Company. She also served as chairman of the Asian Composers League and the League of Filipino Composers. She is credited for having written more than 200 musical works, ranging from folk songs to opera to orchestral works, which she continued to compose for the rest of her life. For all these outstanding achievements, she was conferred the title of the National Artist for Music in 1989. She passed away in Manila in August 2008. Next, we have Ramon P. Santos in 1941 to present. He is a national artist for music also. So Ramon P. Santos was born in Pasig on February 25, 1941. He completed his Bachelor of Music degree at the College of Music, University of the Philippines. He finished his Masters of Music degree at Indiana University, USA. He received his Doctor of Philosophy degree in compositions at the State University of New York, USA. He had also pursued graduate studies in ethnomusicology at the University of Illinois, USA. Santos' compositional style features chromaticism, music seria, and electronic components combined with indigenous Philippine music elements. His works include Dingding nga Diyawa, Nabasag na Banga at iba't iba pang pinag-ugpong-ugpong na pananalita sa wikang Pilipino para sa 16 na tinig, and Elvad. He had done extensive research in gamelan music of Laba as well as the traditional music of the Ibaloy, Maranao, Mansaka, Buntok, Yakan, and Boholano tribes in the Philippines. So, present, he is the head of the UP Center of Ethnomusicology and was appointed professor. Santos held the position of Dean of the UP College Music from 1978 to 1988 as emeritus of the same institution. He was conferred the title of National Artist for Music in 2014. Next, we have Francisco F. Feliciano in 1942 to 2014. He is also a national artist for music. So, Francisco F. Feliciano, a avant-garde music and conductor for band and chorus, was born in February 19, 1942 in Morong, Rizal. His first exposures to music was with the Morris Band, a brass ensemble established and owned by his father, Maximino Feliciano. He started his music career in the high school band, where he had played the cymbals and the clarinet. So Feliciano obtained his teacher's diploma in compositions and conducting at the Conservatory of Music, University of the Philippines in 1964 and a Bachelor of Music degree major in composition in 1967. Subsequent degrees include a Master in Music Composition from the University of the Philippines, a Diploma in Music Compositions from the Hochschule der Kunst in Berlin, Germany, and a Master of Musical Arts and Doctorate in Music Composition from Yale University School of Music in USA. He studied composition with Jacob Drachman, Yi Zhangyon, H. W. Zimmerman, and Christoph Penderecki. Feliciano composed more than 30 major works, including the musical drama Sikhay, Sa Kabila ng Paalam, Ashen Wings, and the monumental three-act opera La Loba Negra in 1984, and he also wrote music for the orchestra such as the Prelude and Toccata in 1973, Fragments in 1976, and Life of Wartime Filipino hero Jose Abad Santos and the ballet Yerma in 1982. Among his other large works are the Transfiguration and Missa Mysterium for orchestra and large chorus. He has composed several prize-winning works such as the Pokpok Alimpako, a favorite piece of choirs in international choral competitions. Salimbayan, Umiinog, and Walang Tinag, and Perpetuum Immobile, which has premiered at the ISCM Festival in New York City, USA. Feliciano composed hundreds of liturgical pieces, mass settings, hymns, and songs for worship. He founded the Asian Institute for Liturgy and Music in Quezon City, a school for church musicians, and supervised the publication for a new Asian hymnal containing music, mostly works of Asian composers. So he was conferred the title of the National Artist for Music in 2014, and then he died on September 19, 2014. Now let's proceed to song composers. The 20th century Filipino song composers or lyricists include Lavi Celerio, Constancio de Guzman, Mike Velarde Jr., Nani Koenko, Rusty Umali, George Canseco, Angel Peña, Leopoldo Silo Sr., and Santiago Suarez. Together, they had produced a memorable output of traditional Filipino love songs, musics for the movies, and materials for contemporary arrangement and concert repertoire. Filipino composers of the 20th century contributed their share in introducing innovative sounds different from the traditional folk song and kundiman melodies that we have been accustomed to. So some espouse the impressionistic style, while others combine ethnic sounds and musical elements with Western techniques in their composition. So some adapted the kundiman as their form in composing their music. First, we have Lavi Celerio. In 1910 to 2002, he is a national artist for literature and music. Prolific lyricist and composer, Lavi Celerio was named National Artist for Music and Literature in 1997. Also a violinist, he had written the lyrics for over 4,000 songs in his lifetime, including many for film. A great number of Candimans and Filipino love songs have lyrics written by notable of which are Dahil sa Iyo, Buhat, and Ang Pasko ay Sumapit. Celerio was known for creating music with a mouth-blown leaf. Celerio was born in Tondo on April 13, 1910. He studied at the Academy of Music in Manila. Under scholarship, later he went on to join the Manila Symphony Orchestra. Aside from writing his own lyrics, he also translated and rewrote the lyrics of folk song to traditional melodies like Maliwanag na Buwan for Ilocos, Ako ay May Singsing from Pampanga, and Alibangbang from the Visayas. So, his achievements includes a citation in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the only person to make music with a mouth-blown lip. So he will forever be remembered through his lyrics for songs such as Ang Pipit, music by Lucio de San Pedro, Bagong Pagsilang, music by Felipe Padilla de Leon, Sa Ugoy ng Duyan, music by Lucio de San Pedro, and Misa de Gallo, music by J. Balita, or Itik Itik, folk song, Tinikling, folk song, and among others. So, Celerio passed away on April 2, 2002. George Canseco in 1934 to 2004. George Masangkay Canseco was born on April 23, 1934 in Nay, Cavite. He graduated with a liberal arts degree at the University of the East. After graduation, he worked for the Philippines Herald and the Associated Press as a journalist. He also worked as a freelance scripter for hire in Manila. Canseco was considered as a nationally acclaimed composer of numerous popular classics. He was commissioned by former First Lady Imelda R. Marcos to compose a national tribute hymn entitled Ako ay Pilipino, or I Am a Filipino. He wins motion picture of the same title sung by Amapola. He wrote the classic Kapantay ay Langit, a theme from the award English version entitled You're All I Love, containing some Tagalog lyrics, was sung by American singer Vic Dana. The song won the Manila Film Festival or Best Song of the Year award in 1972. So he followed it with an English song titled Songs exclusively 4 songs and Amapola under the Vicar Music Corporation Pioneer label. So one of his best-known compositions was Child, the English language version of Freddie Aguilar's signature song Anak. He wrote songs for this country's top popular singers such as Sharon Cuneta, Basil Valdez, Regine Velasquez, Jaja Padilla, Pilita Corrales, Martin Nievera, and Kud Ledesma. So, Canseco credited from film producer and Vicar Music Corporation owner Vic Del Rosario for giving him his biggest break in the music industry. He was elected president of the Filipino Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers Incorporation, or the PhilSCAP, in 1973. He was also elected as councilor for the 1st District of Quezon City in 1988. His legacy as a composer include approximately 120 songs, titles including Ikaw, Kailangan Kita, Dito Ba, Hiram, Tubig at Langis, Hanggang sa Dulo ng Walang Hanggan, Sinasamba Kita, Kastilyong Buhangin, Minsan pa nating hagkan ang nakaraan, Ngayon at Kailanman, Saan darating ang umaga, Sana bukas pa ang kahapon, Dear Heart, Gaano kadalas ang minsan, Paano kita mapapasalamatan, and Kahapon lamang. So those are the composed of Canseco. He passed away on November 19, 2004 in Manila. Next, we have our Nani Koenko. In 1936 to 1988, he is a national artist for music. Nani Koenko, composer, film scorer, musical director, and music teacher, was conferred the National Artist Musicality that contained the classical sound of the Kundiman Award for Music in 1999. His works embody a Filipino sense. Koenko was born on May 10, 1936 in Malolos, Bulacan. As a boy, he was encouraged to learn the violin. He was mentored by his mother, his godmother Doña Belen Aldaba Bautista, and his first teacher, Jovita Tantoco. He earned his bachelor's degree in music, major in piano at the UST Conservatory Music in 1956. A USC scholarship grant in the same year enabled him to study the cello under Professor Modesto Marquez, which he finished in 1965. In 1968, he finished his Master's of Music degree at the Santa Isabel College. From 1960 to 1968, Koenko was a cellist at the Manila Symphony Orchestra under Doctor Hubert Zipper. Likewise, he played for the Filipino Youth Symphony Orchestra and the Manila Chamber Soloists from 1966 to 1970. His career as a musical director began in 1960 when he was discovered by then actor Joseph Estrada while he was playing as a part band he had formed with friends at an exclusive restaurant in Makati. In 1963, Koenko was sent as delegate to the International Music Conference in Tokyo, Japan. Aside from being a composer and musical director, he was also a faculty member at the UST Conservatory of Music until his death on July 11, 1988. To this day, Cuenca's compositions are popular and well-loved, especially Gaano Ko Ikaw Kamahal and Bato sa Buhangin, which he composed for films in honor of his wife. Aside from these signature pieces, Cuenca's other songs include Nahan, Kahit na Magtiis, Diligin Mo ng Hamog ang Uhaw ng Lupa, Pilipinas, Inang Bayan, Isang Dalangin, and Kalesa. So that's all for our lesson this morning. I hope you enjoy and you've learned a lot. Thank you for listening. For your activity and for your quiz, just follow the GAITF link on your screen. Once again, good morning and have a nice day.